Congresswoman, let's talk about this Oversight Commission. You are known for the detail that you bring to your work. You know, when there's an 800-page document, you find something 640 pages in. So you're known for this. So I think there are a lot of people who'd really like someone with your attention to detail to be on the Oversight Committee. What do you make of this comment that the president made that he would take this as hortatory? I've never heard Donald Trump use that word before, but that sort of means that it's a recommendation. It's an encouragement. It's not mandatory. That's not what the rest of us thought this bill was about.
No, and this bill was negotiated in good faith on a bipartisan, bicameral basis. And, you know, it's very clear President Trump didn't write that statement. That statement is coming from the administration's lawyers, who at every turn for years now have resisted any effort at a tripartite government, any efforts of Congress to do its work in creating checks and balances. And so what we're seeing from the Trump administration lawyers is the same kinds of resistance, the same kinds of lack of respect for the checks and balances in the Constitution that we saw with impeachment, that we've seen with oversight of appropriation spending. But what it really means is what he's pushing back on specifically is the Inspector General, the appointment of a special Inspector General, and this advisory council, this Oversight Council. What that means is the Congressional Oversight Commission, where the members are going to be appointed by Congress itself, is going to be the most important tool, because arguably the president has no authority to restrict the work that it does.
What are you worried about could happen? I mean, look, this is our money as taxpayers, the money of all my viewers and all of your constituents. You are our representatives in Congress. And if $500 billion is going to go to companies, we need certain things to happen. We need to make sure that their executives are not compensated before taxpayers are paid back and before all their payroll is made. We need to make sure that money goes to payroll and not laying people off. We need to make sure there are no stock buybacks paid out with that money. There's basic things we need done. What are you worried about the president not following this directive or these instructions is going to lead to?
So look, the bill provides for some of the basic guardrails you mentioned. It says, for example, there can be no increases in executive compensation if a company receives a loan. And there can be no stock buybacks during the period that a company is receiving a loan. But that's about it. So what it doesn't do is provide any conditions that the loan money be used to keep people on payroll, which is really the point of doing this, is to keep people on payroll, to allow those businesses to continue to operate. And so it's really going to be important not only that there's rigorous oversight, but that it's done quickly. The Treasury has the ability to move this money extremely quickly. There's nobody that Secretary Mnuchin has to ask. He can decide $100 billion to this industry, $100 billion to that industry. Meanwhile, he could be ignoring some of the industries that most desperately need the money and that are some of the largest employers in the country. So there's a real potential here for the administration to play favorites, and there's a real potential here for the money to go out the door long before this Oversight Commission even gets set up, long before the Inspector General can even do its work. So especially in light of what President Trump said about his intent to ignore these oversight provisions, we in Congress need to be appointing people to this congressional panel immediately, and they need to be starting their work this evening and tomorrow, getting staff up, being ready day by day to see what Secretary Mnuchin's doing with our $500 billion in taxpayer dollars.